Hey everybody, this is Corey with Dragonfly-DIY, and today I am, well, not working on the truck you see behind me. I am working on my 2015 Silverado 3500. In this case, the 1500 and 2500 would also apply. Model years 2014 through 2020, Chevrolet and GMC both use basically the same bodies between all their versions of trucks. So the 2014 through 2020 GMC Sierra 1500, 2500, and 3500 would also be covered under this. Same parts, same process. And other than a few body panels to make a Chevy look like a Chevy and a GMC to look like a GMC, they pretty much share the same parts anyways. I was vacuuming out my truck the other day, and I noticed that the floorboards, specifically on the driver's side, were wet beneath the pedals and kind of along the sill plate here. Didn't think much of it. I had gone hunting the day before, getting in and out of the truck with wet boots from launching a boat and things like that. Happens all the time. Kept vacuuming and went to the back. I noticed it was the same story. Didn't get in the back of the truck, so it shouldn't be wet. But the back was worse than the front. The floor was completely saturated with water. There was standing water underneath my sill plate trim where the wire loom runs in the channel, which wire covered in water is typically not a good thing anyways. So I figured I have to have some sort of leak somewhere. I have had leaking problems with this truck before. I have replaced the third brake light seal. I have replaced the sharkfin antenna. You know, all those common things you see on the internet and forums where people describe leaks. So I figured there's no way that those are leaking already. Also, typically with both of those, the water is gonna leak through the headliner and down one of the pillars onto the floor. So you would see or have some wet, you know, staining or something up along the headliner of the truck before it reaches the bottom floorboards. Didn't have any of that. Everything was bone dry. So I was stumped at this point. I haven't heard of any other real problems with these trucks leaking. So I scoured the forums, scoured the web, came across a few people who had mentioned the cab vents. So these, in case you're unaware, are some plastic vents that are mounted right on the back of the cab here that release pressure inside the cab when you shut the doors. So if you didn't have these and you shut the doors, these things are so airtight, either your door wouldn't shut all the way or you risk, you know, blowing out some seal or something like that if the pressure isn't able to be released when you shut the doors. Apparently people have had issues with these leaking on them. There's a rubber seal around them that cracks, that, you know, over time leaks. This truck is now over 10 years old. So I figured, yeah, I'll investigate that. I found a couple videos on how to do it. Some of them were okay. Left out some tricks and some tips and some kind of key components to make your life a little easier while doing it. So today I'm going to go over it with you and I'm going to tell you how to do it. And it's not a hard project. It took me about an hour to do both sides. I did them both at once, even though it was the driver's side that was leaking, because who wants to tear their truck apart again in 5 months when the other one, you know, that's probably not long for this world, decides to leak too. So let's get started. So these are the tools I'm going to use today. We have a light, because I don't care where you work or what shop you're in, you never have enough light where you need it. I'm also wearing a headlamp. You have an 18mm wrench. You may or may not need it. Just kind of helps to break loose the bolts that are holding the seat structure to the floor if they're super tight. A 10mm on a wobble head. A 18mm deep socket. You'll need the deep socket. The studs that hold the seat to the floor are fairly deep, and a normal socket just isn't going to cut it. You have a trim, tab puller, push nut puller, whatever you want to call these things. There's a few tabs that hold the rear sound deadening material to the back of the truck that you're going to need to pull out. And then every time I work on cars, I'm using one of these 12 volt ratchets. This is a 3/8. I don't care if you spend $200 on a Milwaukee one or $50 on an Amazon one. Do yourself a favor and get one of these. They make life extremely easy working on cars, almost enjoyable. And if you don't have one, get one. They're not expensive, and they will change your life trying to get to those nuts and bolts in tight places that even with a ratcheting wrench would take you forever and a lot of swear words to get out. So not a lot. So first and foremost, I have the luxury of being able to work on my truck indoors. I have a heated garage. I even have a ceiling fan right above my truck. So I opened my sunroof, turned on my fan, tore apart the carpet. You have to dry this thing out or it's going to mold. Nobody wants mold in their truck. And with the amount of water that was in here, that was probably a 2 or 3 day process on its own. Soaked up as much as I could with towels, and then left my heater on, you know, cranked up to 75 and turned on the ceiling fan, opened the sunroof, and left all the doors open for a solid 3 days just to get everything aired out. That's crucial here. So the process is pretty straightforward. You will have to remove the rear seat or at least push it out of the way. It is split into kind of a 60-40 configuration here. The two sections are independent of each other. They are connected at the base. I will show you that also. There's also a fair amount of trim that you're going to have to remove really up to the sill plate here. You don't need to mess with any of the B-post stuff up front. You won't really need to mess with any of the carpet, anything like that. There's really only 8 bolts that hold this whole seat structure in place. And then there's 2 bolts that basically join the 2 seat structures together underneath. I'm going to show you all of that. So looking underneath the passenger side rear seat here, folded up, there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 bolts. These are the 18 millimeters nuts that are on studs holding this half of the seat in place. You also have your emergency jack mounted underneath here. I recommend removing the jack. It's not really in the way. You don't have to, but I'm the kind of person who I will take the extra couple seconds or couple minutes to completely get something out of my way so I'm not fighting it the entire time that I am trying to do my project. So jack's mounted just by shortening the cylinder, comes right out. Move it out to the way, and it just gives you a lot more room specifically to get to this back one out here. So moving over to the driver's side, there are again 4 bolts that hold the larger side of the seat to the floor. There is 1, 2, and then along the door here, 3, 4 in the back. Again, 18 millimeter. Again, the studs are long. Use a deep well. The kind of emergency kit lug wrench is also mounted back here. This isn't in the way. You don't have to remove this. I've also seen some videos where people like to remove the seatbelt anchors. I didn't do it. They didn't get in my way, so that's just an extra step you don't need to do. But and then when we're done with that, we will move back and get those 2 10 mil bolts that are holding the 2 seat sections together. Passenger side, 1 10 millimeter bolt, 2 10 millimeter bolts hold these two clamps together. Gonna have to remove those. Top one is where I used kind of the wobble extension. There's some tight clearance between the ratchet and the bottom of the seat. Makes it a little easier. And these bolts, for whatever reason, kind of felt like there was, I don't know if it was corrosion or what, but almost had a locking feel to them. So I don't know if they are truly free spooling or if they have kind of locking threads on them, but these didn't come out super easy. Once you're done with those, then you can remove the two sides of the seat, and I'll show you how to do that. So one thing to note, these seats, you'll notice when you fold them up, the top or the back kind of slides up and down. There is, on each set of seats, there is a hook that is kind of sliding in a retainer up and down to keep them from, you know, coming off the back side. So these won't, when you take them off, you won't be able just to pull them out. You kind of have to pull them up and then out, get them off of the studs on the floor, but also make sure that the hook clears its keeper so that you can slide the whole seat out. So looking behind the seat here, this is the hook that I was talking about. Slides in and out of this keeper here every time you fold the seat. So this is what keeps the seat from falling forward off the back side. So when you take it off, not only to get it off the studs on the floor, but to get it to clear the keeper, you just need to lift the seat up and then out when you take it out. Okay, removing the seats. This longer piece you don't necessarily have to remove. In fact, I wouldn't, because it is integrated into the shoulder belt for the middle seat. You'd have to unbolt the seat belt, feed it through, and then remove the whole seat out. I just move it away from the back. There's plenty of seat belt to let it travel, get it out of the way. The smaller seat on the other side isn't connected to anything. You can just lift that up and out and get it completely out of the way. So the trim pieces you're going to have to remove to get access to the rear wall of the truck that's behind this kind of padded sound deadener material here. So you're going to have to remove the sill plate, this C-post trim that goes all the way up to the gray where it transitions. These two are connected together. Inside there's like 3 plastic clips that actually hold these two together. So you're gonna have to pry away the gray piece. You don't have to remove it. It's integrated into the seat belt, so that just would cause a lot more problems. It's not in the way at all, but you are gonna have to separate these two inside to be able to remove this one piece trim that goes all the way down under the sill plate. Running across the whole back where your window is, I have the sliding window. This trim covers all of the like motors and cabling for your sliding window across the back. It's split into a few sections. This furthest section over here comes off. All these panels are held on by these push clips. Nothing's screwed in, nothing's bolted in as far as trim goes on these trucks. It's all these little push clips. Underneath there is a push pin right there. I don't know how to officially get this one out. It is one of the kind that is an expansion pin, but the pin that expands sits flush. So when it's in there, it sits flush. I don't know how to get that one out. You can just pry this one out. It doesn't break it. Maybe that's how you're supposed to do it, but it won't break. It pops out. That's holding this C-post to the back of the truck, so that'll have to come out, or you risk breaking this little bracket in there that's holding it. So similar to the back, these are push pins. These ones are plastic. I've actually broken a couple of these. I'll probably eventually have to get a new sill plate in the future to replace it. And then the C-post pillar is it's connected to the floor here, and then it's connected to the pillar up here. You're gonna have to pull up on the floor, and then against the pillar, you're gonna have to pull out. And these just separate there. Separate there. You're gonna wanna pull this gray piece also out. And then looking inside there, you can see how the two are kind of connected. Using a screwdriver or, doesn't really matter what, you're gonna have to pry up on these locking tabs to separate the two so that you can pull the rest of this B-post out. Okay, we've got the black C-post trim removed, specifically the bottom half, separated from the top gray piece that you're not taking out because it is integrated into the seat belt. These tabs that I mentioned that hold the two together, you're gonna have to release them. There's the two that connect to a tab on the black piece, and then for whatever reason, they decided to do one that is opposite. The retainer is on the black piece that you're gonna have to peel away. There's 3 of them. Separate those, then it just comes right out. This sound deadener material on the back that runs all the way across the back, you're gonna have to fold it forward to get behind it to access the cab vent, which is sitting kind of right in here behind this. The sliding hook that I was talking about, that the seat slides up and down on when you fold it, it's got this black kind of bushing that goes over the metal U-bolt that's welded to the back of the truck. You can't really remove this, but you can take this black piece off. That will make it easier to peel back this sound deadener because it doesn't really want to go over this thick black piece. It only is really cut out to go over the metal part here. Take that off. There is one of these push pins that you're gonna have to peel out. I hate these things. They never seem to want to come out, much less go back in as soon as you take them out. They usually go flying. Take that one out. There's only one of those. And then there's 3 of these black, plastic nuts. I don't know why they did it this way, but there's 3 of these black plastic nuts that are on a metal stud. And really, you just kind of have to back these out. Unscrew them. Don't try and just pry them off, or you're going to strip out all the plastic that actually holds these things on the stud. And then when you go to reinstall these things, they're not going to hold this sound material, tight against the wall. It's just going to be loose. So these you unscrew them. You don't need a tool or anything. They're just hand tight. Unscrew them until they stop unscrewing, and then just pull them off. There's 3 of those. There's one kind of halfway up the material. There's one sitting right behind the seatbelt retractor, and then there's one down here in the corner that you're going to have to do underneath the seatbelt. And that's really all you're going to have to do to be able to peel back this sound deadener. Okay, once you removed all those, the annoying push nut that went flying, the plastic guide bushing for the slider here, then the 3 plastic nuts, top, middle, and bottom here, you are now able to peel this whole sound mat back away. Which looks like that. Enough to gain access to this vent. Now this vent was the cause of all my problems this time. You can see there's kind of some water trails going down there where it's been leaking in. So the way these things work is they have these little rubber flaps that just kind of hinge open, and when you shut the door, air pressure pushes out. You know, these flaps open up and release the pressure, and then they fall back into place, allegedly, to seal back up so water doesn't get inside. There is a seal that goes around the outside of this thing that I feel is probably the culprit. These look like they mostly lie pretty flat. I don't see water getting in there, but water was coming in here. I did take a hose and, you know, ran it down the back of the truck, and I could physically see water, you know, running down my sill plate here. So this was the culprit for this leak. To remove this thing, it's only held in by basically one clip here on the top. You just push this clip down, and then the whole thing goes out the back of the truck and will probably just fall to the ground. And this is what you're left with. Okay, these are the two vents side by side, new one on the left, old one obviously on the right. You can tell this one has some water that has definitely been leaking through it. Dust and mud and everything like that. You know, the flaps are just kind of cracked and torn. You know, these things apparently were not designed to last the life of the truck, and the water on my floorboards is evidence of that. New one, you know, the flaps use a little more spring to them. They seem to close nicer. The seal going all the way around it is nice and firm. It hasn't gone flat. You can tell on this one. You see how it's kind of flattened out a little bit. And this one, you know, it's going to press up against the cab real nice. I went with the Dorman option. I figure OEM is generally twice as much money for the same product. On something like this, it's not a super crucial part of the truck to where I feel like OEM was necessary. Part number 59111, they are the same on the left and the right. I'm choosing to replace both at once because I'm going to be tearing apart the back of the truck, and I figure I might as well do them while I'm there. So we're underneath the truck at this point. This is how you're going to have to install the new one when it comes time. Looking up at the hole in the cab where this vent goes, you can see is quite dirty. You don't want to put your new seal up against all that dust and dirt and stuff. What you're going to want to do is get a rag with some glass cleaner, or, you know, some water at the very least, from the inside of the truck, and kind of clean up around this seal so you get a new good seal with the new vent. Don't put it back together without cleaning this, or I guarantee you, you're going to still have some leaking problems when you're done. All right, so back on the inside of the truck, we're going to go through the vent hole opening. I've got some foaming glass cleaner on here, and we're just going to clean all the way around the outside of the vent opening, cleaning up all the dirt, grime, mold, wherever you live and whatever you've got that's going to get between the truck and the seal. This is a pretty important part. If you don't do this, you're going to have leaks, so make sure you clean it up real good and have a nice, you know, clean surface for that new seal to seal to. We're here with the new one. Time to install it now that everything's all cleaned up. There is really only one way that this thing can be installed. There's the top of the vent that has the one larger tab here. The bottom has these two smaller tabs. This has to be installed from the outside of the truck and clipped into place. You can't do it opposite. It just won't work. Easiest way that I've found to do it is crawl under the truck. You're gonna be basically sliding it up in between the bed and the cab. You're gonna put the bottom half in first, and you're gonna pull it down, and it's gonna click into place. Then you're gonna get out from under the truck, go back inside, And you're gonna, you know, use these louvers to your advantage here. Get a couple fingers in between them, and then you're gonna pull the top into place until the top clips up into the cab. So let's do that. Under the truck, looking between the cab and the bed here. Make sure this thing's right side out and up. Slide it up in between the two. It's gonna fall into place, and you're gonna push it in and then pull it down, and you'll feel it click and you'll hear it click like that. And at this point, the bottom is secure. So come on out. Back into the inside, you know, go in between the louvers here, grip it from the outside, and you're gonna pull the top into place until you hear it click. And at this point, it's secured, it's in, and you're gonna feel the seal. It's gonna give you some resistance pulling it into place. That's good. The old one, the seal had flattened out so much that it was kind of just loosely wobbling in there. But this one, nice and tight. Hopefully that should solve all of our water problems. All right, back on the passenger side of the truck, the new vents in over here. Both sides are now in. The process is exactly the same as on the driver's side. The pins that hold the sound mat in place are in the same spot. I guess the only difference is this one over here has this little kind of retainer bracket that hides the motor for the sliding rear window. If you don't have a sliding rear window, I'm not sure if that's there, but it's the same pin, push pin. You just pop that out like the other side. Putting this thing back together is pretty self-explanatory. Just reverse order of taking it apart. Just remember, when putting trim pieces back on, if they don't seem to want to go, don't try and force them. You're going to break all of these little plastic pins off, and then you're never going to get this thing to sit back on there properly. Just take your time. You know, they will go back into place if you've got it positioned right, and if you don't got it positioned right, just take it off, try again. Take your time, because replacing all this trim can get pretty expensive if you start breaking pins and tabs on them. So that's all I got for this one. Like I said, this is a couple-hour project, not a big deal. The rear vents are probably one of the more overlooked leaking spots on these trucks. The sunroof gasket, the third brake light, and the shark fin antenna up top are going to be probably your number one leak spots. But again, you will more than likely see the headliner up top. You can probably even see mine. I've got some staining up there from where my third brake light was leaking. You'll see that wet before you'll see water on the floor mats, and it won't be puddling like I was explaining earlier. So if you've got that symptom, only wet floor mats, specifically on one side of the vehicle or the other, chances are it's not going to be the brake light, the sunroof, or the shark fin antenna. It's gonna be these rear cabin vents. So hope this helps. More videos to come. There's always things to do around here. So until next time, adios.